homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And in today's video, I'm going to bring you a homeschool recap. I'm going to let you know how the last 6 weeks in our homeschool went. If you're interested in our past homeschool recaps, definitely go and check them out on our channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can be here when we put out all of our other homeschooling content. This last 6 weeks really flew by. We actually started one of the things before Christmas, so maybe that's why it seemed like it went by so fast. But I feel like it just flew by, but I think it's because we enjoyed it so much. So let's get started. I'm going to share with you what we used. If you've been around here for a while, then you know what we're using for math, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it anyway because we've had to kind of change it up a little bit. So we use Teaching Textbooks for math, and it's a perfectly fine program. 4.0 is actually really neat. The backgrounds, the extra things they've added are really neat, but my son has just gotten to a point that he doesn't want to do math on a computer. And so I did have to tweak some things because we did pay for it, and I think it's a good program and I want us to finish it. I've had to change it up just a little bit for him. So let me show you what I'm doing for him so that we can continue to use Teaching Textbooks. So what I've been doing is in a notebook, I've been getting him to take notes on the lesson. What we were noticing is we would get to the work or we would get to the quiz and he would have no idea what he learned about. While he did really good after each lesson, he really hadn't retained all of that information. And so I said, maybe note taking is what's missing. I know when I had math and when I took math in college, I took notes. And our college teacher that I had for statistics and calculus, she let us use 1 page of notes on our test. And I thought, hey, maybe that's something we can do when it comes quiz time. If he takes really good notes, he can use that on his quiz. So I've just been dividing up his paper, and he takes notes at the top, and we write down what's important, and we do some examples. And then at the bottom, what I've had to do is, we've noticed with Teaching Textbooks, there are a lot of problems. And I totally get that it is spiral and you go back and review, but for my son with ADHD, that really irritates him. If he knows how to do something like multiplication or division or subtraction, he doesn't want to do it every single time. He understands how to do it. So I've just went in, so I do have to do a little work on my part. It's not as easy as just putting him on the computer and going to do something else. I go in ahead of him, I find all the problems that have to do with what we're actually learning. So it might just not be from that lesson, but from some of the last few lessons. And that's what I write down for him to do. So he's not having to go back and do multiplication and subtraction and all those things that he mastered a long time ago. So that's what I've had to do for Teaching Textbooks. So don't think that you have to stick to the program exactly like it is. You can tweak it for your kids to make it more manageable for them. And this is what's working for us, so we'll keep this up at least till the end of the year. The other thing I'm having to do is print the quiz for him. He just does not like doing the quiz on the computer, so I just go in to the parent area of it and I print the quiz. And then I just highlight the ones that I want him to do, and I normally just highlight the things that we have covered in this past unit. So we're just making sure he understands what we just learned. So that's what I've been doing for him, and that seems to be working. I've done it the past 2 quizzes, and that works pretty good. All right, what did we read? Well, I've already taken Who Was Walt Disney upstairs because I like to put things up and have things neat and tidy. I mean, that's not neat and tidy. I mean, don't you have a Lego table in your master bedroom? Doesn't everybody? That's not neat and tidy, but a lot of fun's had at that table. But if I can control the neat and tidy, I do. And I took Who Was Walt Disney. We took it upstairs and put it with our other homeschool books. We read it, and we read Who Was Michael Jackson. We loved both of them. We love the Who Was series. Now, with the Who Was Walt Disney, we did a really small unit study. It was free. I actually have it linked in one of my other videos, and it was a great little unit study to go along with the book. And then with this one, we didn't do a unit study because a part of Gather Round, they had to do an artist profile, and we used this book to do the artist profile. So we enjoyed both of those books. We learned a lot about Michael Jackson and Walt Disney, and those were fun reads. Now we are still reading Flora and Ulysses, and I think I gave the wrong date on some of my past videos. This movie actually comes out on Disney Plus February 19th. I think I kept saying the 16th, but it comes out the 19th, and we're super excited about it. This has been a really fun book. It's a really easy read. If you want an arrow guide to go along with it, this is a part of Brave Writer Arrow Guide, so you can definitely get that. If you're looking for a more natural approach to language arts, they do have an arrow guide that goes with this book. So we're not using it, we're just reading it to be reading it, and we love it. Next, we did start this, Typing 1 from The Good and the Beautiful. Sorry, there's a bit of a glare. And we're kind of taking it slow. Some days we remember it and some days we don't. My son even said, I type all the time. I mean, he doesn't really talk like that, but I type all the time. I use my iPad when I'm talking to my friends, and I'm like, yeah, typing with your thumbs is not cool. Yeah, it's really quick on the phone, and that's great and all, but nobody wants to see you on a computer when you're grown typing with your thumbs. I'm sorry. So we're going to learn the correct way, and then whatever he chooses to do with himself, that's fine with me. So it's a great course. We really enjoy it. We've only made it through about 10 lessons, but that's okay. I'm not real worried about it. We're going to keep going. We just keep some stickers around, because see, I printed this at home, so I didn't get the stickers. So we just keep his little Fortnite stickers around, and when he's done, he likes to put stickers. As you can see, he's put them everywhere. You only have to put one where it says, place your sticker here. But he's put them on everything that he's finished, and so we'll just keep going with this. We like it. It works really well. We went to this because it's not timed. Timing him stressed him out. He does not like timers. That just makes it worse for him. And so, of course, there's no timing in this, and he really enjoyed it. And just in the few lessons we've done, I've noticed some progress. So whether he'll use that on his iPad, I don't know. But on a keyboard, he does very well. All right, so that's typing. Now, for all my gather round mamas out there, we just finished the artist unit, and oh my goodness. I know in my past couple of videos, I have said 9 million times, and I'm going to say it again, this is by far our favorite gather round unit. Now, if you don't know anything about us, we actually started using gather round when it came out, and we've been using it ever since. And we have tried all different kinds of units. Now, we do not make it through all 10 units every year. I just don't even know how that's possible. We usually get through about 5 or 6, along with a couple of mini units. So we love Gather Round. I truly believe in the program. I absolutely love it. So this is our favorite. This is a year 2 unit. So if you are new and you are thinking about trying Gather Round, I would definitely go with a year 2 unit. I do love the way that they're set up. Some differences you're going to notice is there are some seat work pages in there, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. There is also the difference in the way their language arts is laid out, because she listens when you have a suggestion, or you just want to talk to her about something. If you just email them at support@gatherroundhomeschool.com, they will listen and they will try to accommodate the best that they can. So let's talk about artists. Now, what I want you to do, if you have not already, join the Gather Round Facebook community page. That is going to give you so many great ideas and support. You just need to go there. They have awesome resources there in the files section and also in the albums. If you go to the albums and you click on the unit, that is where people share information. So the videos, the extras, the crafts, all that good stuff comes from people like you who are using Gather Round, and they put it into those albums. So you definitely want to go and check there if you're about to start a new unit, or if you're in the middle of a unit and you need some ideas. Second thing I want you to do is to go download their free app. Their app is amazing. If you don't want to do their app, you can get to their app from a desktop. It's really simple to use. I'll try to remember to link that in the description box if you just want to use it from the computer. But the app is amazing. You can join the communities, so you have communities for each of the units. You can join communities for high school moms. It's great and wonderful, and you need to be there. If you are already there and you're like, well, how can I share my information to get it in the links and resources? The best thing to do is to tag the moderator. So whatever group that you're in, if you're in the space group, you would just tag, I'm the moderator in the space group, you would just tag me and you would share your resource, and then I add it to a document that then gets put onto the app. So I do want to say that even though I'm a moderator, I buy this with my own money. I do not get anything for free. I buy this with my own money, and I love it. So let's talk about Artist. So in the beginning of Artist, you are going to see some seat work pages. And on the seat work pages, you're going to see their copy work for the week, which is a Bible verse. You're going to see spelling words. There's a place for your kids to kind of write in their schedule, different things like that. Now, I did not print them in my son's book this time. I left them on my computer. I wrote down the spelling words on an index card so I would have them, and then I made sheets for my son, and I actually shared these. I shared these sheets in the file section in the Facebook community. So if you go there, you can actually download these sheets. Now, these are just for upper elementary because it's the only level that I have. There are suggestions for how to do spelling words in your file when you get it, but my son's just one of these people that wants it written on paper and he wants to do it and move on with his life. So that's why I made this. So we do a pre-test. We see he missed a lot this week. We circled what he missed. We write him in cursive. We do these spelling boxes, and then he can practice however he wants to throughout the week. And then on Friday we just do a little test. I don't keep grades, but we do a little test just to see how well he did. So you can find these spelling pages here in the file section if you have upper elementary. So that's something new. And then I also put the copy work on the back so he'd have a space for that. I've seen where parents have used notebooks and just little composition books, and that works fine. You can make it work however you want to. So that's something new for the year 2. The other thing I want to share with you, and I'm sorry, this is going to look super used because we use this every day. But I wanted to show you some grammar and what that looks like. So what she's done with year 2 is she's broken up the grammar over 3 days. So the first day you do it, you'll obviously do day 1 right there. And then as you go through your lessons, let's say you get into the next lesson, so this is lesson 10. In lesson 11 or lesson 12, I can't remember exactly, it's going to have a little note on one of the pages that says, hey, go back and do your grammar. And when it says that, you just go back and you do day 2, and then it's going to remind you again. That way you're hitting grammar just a little bit more. It was a concern that there just wasn't enough language arts and grammar in there. So this is kind of her way of saying, hey, here's you a little bit more. You're practicing your grammar rules and things like that. So this one was about commas. The headings, punctuation, this was about commas. What I'm going to try to get better at doing, and I saw this on the Facebook page. Somebody said there are so many great videos for science and history, but there's not really anything shared for anything else. And I thought, you know what, that's a shame because I do use videos for absolutely everything. And there are great videos out there for language arts, for your grammar, for your writing, for things like that. And so I know I shared a song because kids learn so well through music. I shared a song from Go Noodle, and it was all about the comma rules. And so I'm going to try to do better in sharing the videos or the anchor charts or the extra things that I do to help teach grammar, because I do want to help you guys, and I want you to make the most of this program without feeling like you have to go buy another curriculum, because I see it all the time. So I want to provide you with things that say, hey, if they're having trouble with this, don't go run out and buy a new curriculum. Let's add to that. Let's find a game to play. Let's watch a video, because I see this all the time. I don't think it's enough. What can I add to it? What curriculum do you recommend? And I really feel like you're just piling your kids on, piling so much stuff on your children. And guys, more is not always better. It's just more. So we want to take quality. We want to say, hey, we're learning about commas. Okay, here are the rules. Let's listen to this song. Hey, let's play this game. And then we can still do this page, and we're not having to spend buku-doodles of money on extra curriculum that may not even teach them the rules. So I'm going to do better at sharing some language arts videos, writing videos, and help like that for you guys, so you don't feel like you have to run and buy more curriculum. Nobody wants to do that. No. So this is what the grammar looks like. So we learned the rules, We did day 1. This was just fix it. It doesn't always look like this. Day 2, they have to show it. So they wrote, and he wrote in green that day, I'm sorry. He had to write 3 sentences showing the comma rules that he learned, and he actually did very well with it. And then on day 3, he had to write down one of the rules that he remembered about commas. So that is how the grammar has kind of changed up for year 2. Sorry to go off on that soapbox. I just want to make you feel better about language arts. All right, so let's get into this unit. This unit was so much fun. If you think it's just about an artist today, it is totally not. You get to explore all forms of art, from acting to sculpting to design to music to theater, everything. And so we loved it. Now, I'm not one to go and buy a ton of extras like puzzles and kits and all that kind of stuff. I just don't. I'm sorry. Occasionally I'll buy a game if it goes with it, but I don't buy all that other stuff. If you do, that's great. My son would hate it if I bought a puzzle. He hates puzzles. So there are great things that go along with stuff like this. I don't spend a lot of money. I print it, and I try to find things that I can print off or that's easy to do. You're probably thinking, do I need a lot of supplies to do artist? Absolutely not. We have used, I'll tell you what we've used. We have used watercolor. I got that for $5 at Michael's. We have used air dry clay. And then we also made clay on our own. So I found a simple recipe on Pinterest. It was cornstarch, baking soda, and water. And it was super simple to mix on the stove. And I'll show you what we made with it in just a second. But that's really all that we've used. Could you go all out and spend a lot of money on art supplies? You totally could. And if you do, that's fine, because what works for you, that's great. But we did not spend a lot of money, and I don't want you to think you have to have a lot of supplies to do it. So let me show you some of the fun things that we did. So this was the artist profile. This was something that they work on the entire month. If you don't know, Gather Round has a writing project that goes for the entire month. And so ever so often it'll say, hey, let's work on our writing project. So the big thing that we learned in our writing project this time was all about plagiarism, which was something my son had not ever heard of. And so it was interesting to teach him about that. And then he's even brought that up when we have been talking about other things. When we've been writing other things, he's like, make sure you don't copy their words exactly. And I'm like, yes, he's listening. He's listening and he's taking it in, and I love it. I love it. So that's a homeschool win. So this was his project. They had to pick an artist, and it could be from any genre of art. And so he picked Michael Jackson. They had to look up when they were born, what category they fell under in art, his greatest accomplishments. And it talked to them about how to take notes, and then how to take those notes and put them into their own words and make complete paragraphs and write at least 3 to 4 sentences. This is in the upper elementary. And so this also talked about captions. So drawing a picture and writing a caption. So we learned about that. But he really enjoyed this artist profile. So that was the writing element for this unit. So let's see what else. So again, we learned, I think I showed this in another video, we learned about the printing press. So this was a page that I added. If you see some wonky page that doesn't look beautiful like Gather Rounds, it's probably something that I added. That's what I love about printing it and binding it myself. I can add what I want to. So we learned about stamping that day. This was a part of it, was to recreate this picture. I just added my own page with this frame, and I got him to sign his name in cursive like he's an artist. Let's see what else we have in here. There was some science experiments on friction, so I did pull out some videos and some other books for us to talk more about friction. We wrote some poetry after we studied poets. We wrote poetry. We talked about shadows. This is a notebooking page. This was when, let's see, poems, when we did poetry. And then he had to define in his own words the type of poetry, which one was his favorite. And then here's that little note I told you, grammar time. It says, don't forget to go back and work on grammar. So if you're like me, sometimes you miss that. You might want to highlight that so you don't forget to go back. Let's see, this was learning about cartoonists. I added a really fun lesson from Mystery Science called What Was the First Cartoon? So don't be afraid to look into other outlets to really ride the topic home for your kids. So we added that, and that was fun. That's in one of my day in the life videos. You may want to check it out. So here's the plagiarism, and then time for research. It tells them what to do. This was something I added. It went along with What Was the First Cartoon. We retold a story in pictures without using words because the first cartoon didn't have any words. So another notebook page in case you're interested. This was about when we learned about music. And I will tell you, I'm not musical, so that was probably the hardest lesson for me to teach about rhythm and beats, but we were able to watch some videos and that helped us tremendously. This was about accomplishments. What have you accomplished? What did your artist accomplish? Oh, I think my favorite might have been the when we learned about pastries and the art of baking, and we baked our own cookie cakes. Of course, I don't have anything to show for that because we baked those and we ate them, but he baked a cookie cake and he got to decorate it, and we learned all kinds of things about decorating. We watched Duff Goldman and a couple other videos that I did share to the app and to the Facebook community so he can see different styles and things like that. We learned all about the short story. This was the notebooking page for that. So he had to do like story elements, and he wrote about what conflict was. And okay, so here's where they had a planning sheet for a short story. And then I went ahead and put in here, can't even turn the page, guys. I put in a little page here for him so he could write his short story. So that's what he did there. On the day that we talked about sculpting, this is the day that we made our own clay. And I'll show you what we made with those. We also that same day covered some more about plagiarism. And we also talked about the potter and the clay. So the Bible stuff that's woven in here is beautiful, and I really appreciate what she does with the Bible. So when we made the clay, you might not have any idea what I'm talking about, and these really need to be painted. But these are our Among Us characters. Among Us is a game. It's an online game that he plays on his Switch and on his iPad. But these are our little Among Us figures, and that's what we chose to sculpt and make when we made our clay. So he's got to paint them, but we had so much fun making those, and I noticed that I was in the kitchen a long time making more of those because I thought it was a lot of fun. So that clay recipe was really easy, and I found it on Pinterest. So we also talked about theater. I loved this page. That way he could color while I was reading. And then I've already showed you the grammar from that. And then one of the tasks was to do a silent movie. And so he knows what silent movies are. His dad is a movie buff, like he loves movies. So he's seen silent movies. He loves Charlie Chaplin. And he knew exactly what to do when it was time to make a silent movie. So I printed him off a storyboard so he could plan it, and then we went out and he used one of his friends that was over, and they made a silent movie about, let's see, what was it called? The Lazy Night. And it was really cute. He put music to it. He had, he just did a really good job. So that was a lot of fun. And now that's upside down. We talked about playwriters and screenwriters. And this is where we learned about captions. And then I put this in here for them. This was free. You can find so many writing templates for free on Pinterest at Teachers Pay Teachers. This was a way that they could write their own play. So we actually talked about plays and what they look like and how to read them and how you write your characters over here and then what they're saying, and that it's important that you tell the story through dialogue. And they did really good. He named his Jigsaw the Return. So there you go. And you put your characters and you write a story. So I put that in there for him so he could write a play. We got to talk about photography, and I know this is kind of long, but I really want to show you how great this is. We talked about different kinds of photography. Our science was about vision and how it's very much like the lens of a camera. And then I just made this extra page. He went outside with his iPad, or he did some inside. He had to take a portrait, so he used one of his toys. He had to do landscape, so he did our backyard. He did wildlife, which is our dog. I'm not sure she's considered wildlife, but there you go. And then he did photojournalist. He actually, you can't see it, but there's a political sign in this person's yard, and it has became quite the news in our neighborhood about this sign. So that's what he used for photojournalism. Then we talked about, in that same photo, or in photographers, we talked about we did a picture study, and it was about pictures during the Great Depression. So it was great that he already knew a little bit about the Great Depression because of our fun schooling day. You might want to go check out that video. But we were able to look at the pictures and read their emotion and how those pictures really told about the time, you know, that these people were in. And we learned why they didn't smile and just a lot of different things. So it was quite interesting to do that picture study. And then there was a free write. That is probably my son's favorite thing. He loves when he can write about whatever he wants to, and this was his free write. So it says to set your timer for 10 minutes, but he normally wants longer than 10 minutes, or he's like, just don't set a timer and let me write. So that's what he did that day. I don't even know what he wrote about, but I think it was a continuation of his play that he wrote, if I'm correct. So then we talked about architecture. So we talked about different buildings. Of course, this will be a great time that you could pull out blocks and Legos and let your kids build things if they're younger and they love stuff like that. We had to work on a personal response for our artist profile. We learned all about the career of an architect. It was really neat to research what you need to know, what schools can you go to, how much money do you make. We did all of that. That was a lot of fun. We talked about the first architect, and we read about Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant. We read about both of those. And then he designed his dream house, and it talked about this, you know, sometimes he's into it, sometimes he's not. But this page, this right here, was free on Teachers Pay Teachers. So it says Daniel's dream house, and it tells you what you need to do. And he laid out the rooms on his bottom floor. We've learned about singers, and so they drew a songbird. When I say they, he has a friend that comes and homeschools with us. I know I say I'm a homeschool mom to one. I have one child. He has his best friend homeschools with us. His mom purchases all of his things, sends them to me, and I teach both of them. So when I say they, that's who I'm talking about. And you'll probably see him in some of my other videos because we homeschool together. But they drew the bird. They had to talk about the 5 elements that make a good singer. What other things did we do? This was talking about hidden meanings, and this was about Harriet Tubman. And my son remembered when we did North America. He didn't say, remember when we did that North America unit? He said, haven't we listened to a song before that had to do with slavery, and it had hidden meaning in it too? And it said something about swing low, and I'm like, this works, guys. This works. He remembers this stuff. And he was exactly right. So he actually wanted to listen to it again, so we listened to it again. So there's that, and then there is an extension activity, like, do you have any favorite songs in your home, and things like that. So, we also talked about novels, and what some of our favorite novels were, what the difference in a novel and a short story is. We talked about metaphors, similes, I just combined similes and symbols into one word. Yeah, been talking too much. We did that. When we do graphic design, we talk about logos and what logos are we familiar with. That's a good lesson even for the little kids. It's something I did when I taught kindergarten. It's called environmental print, and it's things that kids notice, like the Target sign or the Walmart sign or McDonald's. Those are logos that people remember and see and recognize. So they sketch a logo. I actually let him go into Canva and design one because I use Canva all the time, and so he liked doing that. We talked about recycling. We also, what was this one called? The one where we used air dry clay. We use air dry clay. I can't remember what the title of the lesson is. Ceramic artist, maybe? Yeah, we talked about that. We used air dry clay to make a pot. And then this is called, this is about carbon dating. So it has a little activity here, and then it has information, and then it says choose one of these activities, and we just chose the video to do. And we did pencil artist, and he did a pencil landscape, but he did not want me to show that, and that's totally okay. We talked about interior design, and I liked it because it did bring up Chip and Joanna Gaines. He knows all about interior design because I watch HGTV, and so he knows. Like, he knows about Love It or List It, and he's like, isn't that what Hillary does on Love It or List It? And I'm like, you're right, son. You're right. I watch it too much. And then I think one of my most favorite lessons of all was lesson number 20. And it was about the great design, and it talked about the master artist, which is God. And it talked about, you know, that you're a work of art, that you were fearfully and wonderfully made, and that God knows the plans for you. And it was just a beautiful lesson. So I wanted to show you what we did with that, kind of talk, and it wasn't recommended, but we made this. I saw this on Pinterest, and I just took their picture of them like shouting things, and I said, tell me 5 positive things about yourself. And they painted the background, and then they cut them out. So he wrote, like, I'm handsome, I'm nice, I'm creative, I'm helpful, I'm funny. And we hung this on our refrigerator, so if he needed some inspiration, then he had this. And then one other thing I forgot to share with you is in the singer lesson, it talked about that some singers use tongue twisters to get warmed up for their lesson. And I saw this on Pinterest too. So they make a head, and then they make a long tongue, and they write their favorite tongue twister on it. So we took turns like saying different tongue twisters. There were some in the book, in the student notebook, and then some we just looked up. And he wrote, she sells seashells by the seashore. That's what he put on his. So this was a little fun extra that didn't take a lot of work to do. So, and then the last thing we did was we compared fingerprints, his fingerprint, and then that's his friend's fingerprint, and they had to write down like their strengths, how can they use their strengths for God, and all those great things. So I loved this unit. My son said multiple times throughout the unit, this is my favorite unit. I love it. We loved it. So if I could recommend any unit to you, I would definitely recommend Artist. I do use the planning page in the front. I just kind of write down what I want to do, and that's pretty much the extent of my plans here. And I just check it off when we do it. And then one thing to help me is I made sure that I wrote grammar at the top. So if I didn't see that little box and I looked at this, I would know which lessons I needed to go and hit grammar. So there's your little tip. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this long video. I'm so sorry, but I'm just so passionate about Gather Around Homeschool, and I love to share it with anyone that'll listen. So thank you so much for that. If you have any questions about Gather Around Homeschool, feel free to leave them in the comments. I love talking about them, and I love to help people better understand it. So definitely let me know if you have anything you want to say about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and as always, thank you so much for watching.